In this brief video, I want to talk about two imams, two preachers who preach hatred and bigotry in the Al-Aqsa Mosque in the citadel of Jerusalem. And this took place about a month ago. And it's an article by a certain Max Gilbert. Right. And we're talking about Palestinians, the people who don't even exist. We're talking about the citadel of King David. And they've got two mosques on it, on the place of the temple of King David. Now, a Palestinian cleric has classified who, in his view, is Islam's true enemy: the US and Europe, the bearers of Western civilization and Christianity, to whom he referred to as the Byzantines. In a lecture delivered at the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem at the beginning of July, cleric Hissam Amira called for the establishment of a caliphate and Muslim rule according to Sharia law, which would deliver the call for Islam to the whole world, adding that the enemies of Islam are America and Europe. The Chinese, he said, were reasonable people who would convert to Islam. As for the Russians, they are stubborn, but once Moscow is liberated from the shackles of the USSR, of Bolshevism, of the Tsar, and even of Putin, they will join Islam, and that will be that. The problem will be with America and Europe, but we'll be ready for them, he said ominously. The establishment of an Islamic state requires destroying all the foreign entities of the Islamic world. Make no exception, show no mercy or compassion to any of those entities, he stated. Islam will rule the entire earth. Now this is incitement to violence, this is bigotry, this is hatred. And it's not an isolated incident among the Palestinian Arabs. And the pulpit at the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Temple Mount in Jerusalem is regularly exploited to preach hatred against Israel, Jews in the West, and Christianity. Now, so that's Hissam Amira. Now, the second Imam, in an address to the Al-Aqsa Mosque 2 days after Amira gave his sermon, Sheikh Mohammed Abed, also known as Abu Abdallah, said that the armies would set out from Jerusalem to conquer Rome and Constantinople, and that Allah had promised that Islam will rule the entire earth. He echoed similar threats made by the Islamic State, ISIS, terror organization. We will conquer your Rome. We will break your crosses and enslave your women by the permission of Allah, the Exalted. This is his promise to us. He is glorified and he does not fail in his promise. If we do not reach that time, then our children and grandchildren will reach it, and we will sell your sons as slaves at the slave market. ISIS wrote in his study, right. So from here, Israel, armies will set out to conquer Rome, to conquer Constantinople once again, as well as its modern symbols, Washington and London. This is Allah's promise to his prophet. Islam will rule the entire earth, declared Abu Abdallah or Mohammed Abed. So it is of significance to note that Israel was not singled out as the enemy by these preachers, imams. Rather than the war they described is of global magnitude, with Islam pitted against Christianity and an onslaught by Muslim extremists against Western culture and values. So these are the victims. These are the Palestinians who claim that Israel stole their land, people who pretend to be victims, and they claim that there's some sort of occupation in the West Bank or Gaza. Of course, that's nonsense. This phony people are part of Al-Qaeda, they are part of ISIS, Al-Nusra, Taliban. They're all in the same lot, it's the same breed. They just want to take over the West. And all this story about the Fatah being mild and all that, that's crap. Hamas and Fatah is the same thing. Fatah is the same thing. Al-Qaeda is the same thing. ISIS is the same thing. Al-Nusra is the same thing. The Taliban are the same thing. The Ayatollah are the same thing. Sharia law. It's hatred, bigotry. In the Al-Aqsa Mosque, where the Temple of Solomon should have been rebuilt. This is Hamas, part of the Palestinian Unity government, executing Arab prisoners without a trial. Wow. Hitler and his good pal al-Husseini, leader of the Palestinians.